What's good, Will Freeman, RevolutionaryLifestyleDesign.com, talking to you today about why Decamillionaire is the new millionaire. So let's start with the history of the word millionaire. It can be traced back to the 1750s. I think Thomas Jefferson was the first one to popularize the word, but it really didn't come into its full popularity around the 1920s. And just to give you an idea, $1 million in 1920 was worth about $15 million today. So that would make a millionaire a high net worth individual today. High net worth means $10 million or above. And the odds of that are about 50,000 out of 6 billion. So high net worth individual, there's about 55,000 of them from what I've been told at 10 million or above. So that's what a millionaire originally meant. And that's why I believe that the new millionaire is a decamillionaire. And in fact, that's always been what a millionaire was, right? Because nowadays, if you're middle class or perhaps upper middle class, by the time you retire, you should have $1 million if you at least include your home, which is usually paid off at that point, and the cash that you have in equities and things of that nature. You pretty much need, if you're in Toronto, where I'm from, a couple million to be comfortable. And it can't all be in your home. Um, if you want to be able to have a lifestyle of $60,000 a year, which isn't that comfortable in Toronto, but if your home's paid off and you and your wife, which is most people in Toronto are married, and you're each getting 50,000 a year from your pension, your Social Security, um, and perhaps some investments, you can live comfortably, or you're just spending through, $1 million over the course of 2 decades at 50,000 at a time. There's two of you, it's 100,000. You can be comfortable, but below that, especially if you don't own your own home, you're certainly in some trouble. If you're looking to live for the next 20, 25 years and you don't have kids that can support you. So a millionaire these days is a middle class, or maybe upper middle class retiree. Although upper middle class, they might have three or four if they're including their equity, because it's usually two people working, right? And you know they've accumulated that over two people working over the course of 40, 50 years, right? um, it's only in the sort of the upper class where the husband would be able to support his wife primarily and have a comfortable lifestyle. Like I think in Toronto, if you're going to have kids and the man is the sole breadwinner, he needs to be doing 250,000 Canadian at least, because business taxes, personal taxes, and a mediocre home in Toronto is $700,000, and it's not in the city center. If you want to live in a nice neighborhood like Rosedale, you're looking at like 3 million or something. And these are 100-year-old homes, right? Made of bricks and stuff. It's like in a lot of these older neighborhoods, you're buying an old home, right? It's nice. It looks nice in upper middle class to a degree, but it is certainly not a mansion that you could get maybe out in the suburbs of Florida, right? Or some of these states with cheaper properties. Um, so in the big cities, and I'm sure it's the same in New York, LA, things of that nature, you know, um, a couple of $1 million doesn't mean what it used to be. I mean, it's certainly something if you're a young guy, right? And you've got your whole life to earn more money, and you're taking that mill or two and putting it back into businesses you own, and reinvesting into other investments, right? But let's say I was 35 or I'm 40 now, and I stacked 2 mil, and I was planning on still living in Toronto, which I left in 2014. I wouldn't be comfortable. Um, Absolutely not. Would I be comfortable here in Southeast Asia or in Eastern Europe or Latin America? Kind of, but not for the rest of my life. At least when I see, 40% expansion of the money supply, post-pandemic, right? Trueflation stats showing 15%, CBDCs on route, ESG tax on route, social credit on route, carbon credits on everything you buy on route, travel permits, 15-minute cities. Um, with CBDCs, some of that money could be programmable. I've heard um, speculations about putting a limit that someone can have in their personal bank account. I don't think that will be, I think that would be a tough thing to pass, but you never know. And if it does get passed, I would imagine you'd still be able to hold whatever you want in your business account. It'll just make, um, or perhaps in investments, it'll just be a way to try and minimize inflation by people not being able to hoard cash in their personal accounts. And it will, of course, affect, like all these things, the middle and lower class. I'm confident that if you're able to make it in the 0.01%, the Decamillionaire status, the top, you know, 50,000 across the board. Even if those stats are wrong, let's just say the top 200,000 across the board out of 6 billion. Um, you're going to be able to survive and thrive whatever the new rules come out, right? Because the new rules are still going to have ways for wealthy people to stay wealthy, because in each of these countries that is rolling out the reset en masse, um, the wealthy people in that country who are rolling it out, are going to want to stay wealthy, right? Which is why I think that now more than ever, the Decamillionaire is the new millionaire, because the term millionaire was so old. It was old by the time I first had heard about it in 1990, right? When I was probably about 8 years old, because I was born in '82. A millionaire was worth 2.3 million back then, which was a good amount of money. Um, it was a lot more money than it is now. Now it's less than half its value, and you still kind of would have needed that to retire back then, or somewhere around that, right? So even in that day and age, the word had lost a lot of its meaning, but people's mentality towards the word millionaire hadn't caught up to the inflation, right? Because it was originally designed or popularized in 1920, and it still had a certain amount of cachet. Oh, I want to be a millionaire when I get older, as opposed to I need to be a millionaire to be able to just retire middle class, right? Because the mind share in regards to people had not factored in the last 70 to 90 years of inflation, and that the word millionaire did not mean the same thing. What it meant in the 1920s was you're set, right? In the same way as if you have 15 million now, which is the equivalent of what it was in the 1920s, and you put that into dividend stocks, dividend yielding real estate, gold, Bitcoin, and or you have it in your business is earning you revenue, you're straight. Okay, assuming you invest properly in your private businesses and hedge properly in your investments, and you got to do a lot more than you used to do, because banks fail. You want to be in multiple bank accounts across multiple countries. You don't want all your real estate in one place, multiple streams of income. And I talk about all this in my uh, net worth course, how to get an 8-figure net worth. It's a game plan. It's not a guarantee, but it's a game plan, because I think this is the new game to play this decade, to be aiming for 10 million either, you know, a decade from now. It's 2023, so 2023 or 2033, you're sitting on 10, or at the least you're at 10 in terms of your net worth. Plus, say your net worth is 5, and you've got 5 million in revenue coming in from your businesses and your rental income or whatever. Um, and I mean that's a big goal. I'm not sugarcoating it. Top 50,000 to maybe 20,000 out of 6 billion. Um, and in the past decade, I was talking about make 25K a month. Live in Southeast Asia, live in Latin America, live in Eastern Europe. You're straight. Put your money back into your businesses and into other investments, multiple bank accounts, etc. As long as that 25,000 is adjusted for inflation, like you should be able to add 10% a year into your lifestyle business with a small team. Um, as I had done, I and that was great advice for the 2010s, but start of 2020, pandemic happened, and through that, we've seen all the rollouts of the things that I've just said. This is open and available public information. This is what the power structure of the world is openly speaking about doing. They think that's the best way to govern the world moving forward. And again, I'm not taking a political stance either way. I'm just telling you that the game done changed, son. And it is changing rapidly. And on top of that, you've got artificial intelligence coming in, and that's going to wipe out 40% of people's jobs. Now I see why they're talking about UBI, because they're going to need to put those people on a UBI so that they don't create chaos within the economy and become a problem. So you're going to be looking at probably a lot of inflation to be able to print that money out, in addition to a lot more obligations for governments in terms of you know paying people, right? And you're going to see an even greater gap between the rich and the poor. You could bet on that. Not to mention, working any type of job is not going to be safe, because it's not like AI is just going to stop over the next decade. If you look at ChatGPT and see where it is now, just imagine what AI is going to look like 10 years from now. As far as I'm concerned, the only person that's going to be safe is the entrepreneur, because an AI can't set up an LLC and receive a check, right? The entrepreneur does that on one end, and on the other end, the AI can't purchase something unless it's acting for a person to purchase on their behalf as an assistant or whatever. So there's always going to be a person who's selling something and owns a company, and then a person who's buying something. Um, and as long as you're the person that owns the vehicle that's selling something, AI can come in and disrupt everything. And if you've done well and put yourself in the 0.01%, you'll be able to afford the customized, absolute best AI technology and not even understand it. It won't even matter. You'll hire a prompt engineer, you'll hire an AI specialist, and just be like, get me this fucking outcome, right? As long as you have the money and you have the vehicle and you have the right strategy within your business, you'll probably be able to use AI to spin up business ideas for you. But at the end of the day, somebody has to collect the check and fund the thing, right? And the AI is not sentient, no matter how much they might try to tell you that in the future. Um, it might cause a lot of problems. It might act off script. In fact, it probably will. But at the end of the day, you know, as far as I know, an AI can't get a bank account and have a passport and an ID and um, actually use the money, right? It's going to be working on somebody's behalf to do so, right? So you've got to take that into account, right? Like getting the money in the revenue streams you can get it now while you can, so that you can make enough to afford the technology. And I'm not bullshitting here. Imagine this is where ChatGPT is not just 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Elon Musk has the Neuralink company that wants to put a brain chip in your head and create, uh, you know, nanotechnology and stuff and genetically accelerated humans. And you're sitting there thinking, like, yeah, I don't want any of that stuff. I don't want people putting that in my head or whatever. But think about it like this: if your competitors are doing that, if the other guys with money are enhancing themselves and stuff, what is the world going to look like for the people that can't afford those enhancements? And I'm not saying put a brain chip in, but I'm saying there will be all kinds of, right, like right now they have HCG, HGH, peptides, all this anti-aging stuff to help keep you healthy and have energy into your 40s, 50s, and 60s. Just by not doing those things, and I'm on TRT with a prescription legally. That gives me a lot more energy than I would have at 40 than if I wasn't on it. Also keeps my body a lot healthier, keeps me looking younger, and just that one thing alone is a big competitive advantage. Think about all the other stuff that will be available, and if you want to compete with other guys who are enhancing themselves, right, you'll need the funds to do it. I don't know where I draw the line. I'm going to play that by ear, but I know that um, a lot of these technologies, especially the anti-aging ones and the ones that keep me energized, I'm going to take advantage of. I'm going to take advantage of ChatGPT, advanced searching capabilities, and automation, and we're right at 1,000% on top of all this. And I know 5 years down the road, I'm not going to be able to use the latest AI for $30 a month ChatGPT subscription, right? Um, I'm also not going to be able to just do these organic videos, right, and get traction like I used to. Used to get way more organic reach. Was getting 200,000 visits on my website. Now, not so much. Granted, I took down a lot of the stuff that I was posting about then, prior to the censorship that I knew was coming in regards to dating and things of that nature, so that I wasn't getting that kind of clickbait traffic. But even then, guys can't make money blogging anymore. They've gone off to Substack, right? You can't even find sort of high quality blogs anymore that aren't Healthline or whatever. Um, that game has already changed. And with YouTube, I'm seeing channels with 3 million subscribers, like an Evan Carmichael, and a new video of his is getting 2,000 views, which is, I might get 1,000 on a new video. It's not being seen by pretty much anyone beyond my subscriber list or guys that have already been coming to the channel. And I've got 16,000 subs, right? I've got a hardcore kind of loyal audience, but um, that guy used to be getting hundreds of thousands of videos, but he hasn't really changed his style up to match with the time. So even when you have 3 million subs, he's out there getting 1,000 or 2,000 views, because the game on YouTube is changing. Guys have professional studios for their podcast. I'll have one next year. Stay tuned for that. And the future is going to be a lot of investment in the technology, but we're going to have to market on YouTube. The free views and stuff, if you want to be competitive, there'll still be ways to do that if you're doing aggressive clickbait and Mr. Beast type stuff and really innovating. But for the average entrepreneur on a brand, right, you're going to have to spend money, which I'm doing now. If you're seeing my videos, you're seeing I'm promoting organic videos, right? I'm not thinking about, oh, it's $200 to promote this. This is a branding effort, right? I've moved beyond just pure direct response. To spend 200 to get it seen by 10,000 of my subscribers, because your homepage is more cluttered than ever, right? And to make sure that, even though you subbed, you might not even see my video because you've got 1,000 other notifications and other things on the YouTube homepage, and that's only going to get more competitive, right? So even these industries where at one point didn't need a lot of capital investment, it's not going to stay that way. There's not one industry that's not going to be changed by, algorithms, AI becoming more, especially anything online. You're going to need to spend more. Um, this stuff is no joke, guys, and you need to be on it. And um, we're talking about a decamillion 10 years from now, right? But keep in mind, when we had a 15% inflation year, right? And if that inflation stays high, that 10 million might only be 6 million in today's dollars, right? Because the nominal value of money is going up. That's what inflation is. So you're that 10 million that I'm talking about might only be 6 million. If we hit hyperinflation in a few years, it might be far less than that. I still think, a lot of cases we will be measuring in the US dollar. It might be Bitcoin, it might be gold if some collapse happens, but I think at this point everyone's measuring in USD. So that's why I set the decamillion target, right? But that money could be worth 8 million, it could be worth 6 million, it could be worth 4 million, or it could be worth less if there's a hyperinflation scenario, right? Now, granted, if there's hyperinflation, and your business survives, like your business might lose 50% of its revenue, but the rest of the revenue is matching the inflation, so you'll hit the 10 million easy. It just will be worth far less. I'm just setting that as a goal right now in today's dollars, right, to aim for. I'd say the odds of a hyperinflation are, you know, probably low, but I think there will be something that happens in the rollout of all this stuff over the next decade. It could be a deflationary situation, or it just could be, like what's going on in Turkey right now. It's 30-40% for 3-4 years, which, if you're in the right vehicles, isn't going to hurt you too bad, and you're living abroad and you are arbitraging your income. But I want to be in a position where, let's say you're doing 300,000 a month take home a decade from now, and along the way, uh, uh, a hyperinflationary event or a deflationary event that comes along and knocks out 80% of your business income, right? Well, you were doing 300,000, so that 80% gets knocked out, but you're still making 60,000 a month. And you're living in Southeast Asia, Latin America, or Eastern Europe. No change in your lifestyle. You're not going to need some, you can't really spend more than 25 a month, 25,000 a month unless you're really balling out at the clubs or you're flying private, right? So you'll still be able to live in the nicest condos, eat whatever you want, go out with girls, spend money on your social media brand, outsource your dating to a company and advertise and all of the kind of lifestyle hacks, buy all the anti-aging technology, etc. Right? So you want to be in a position that, you could, worst case scenario, get hit 80% and still be cruising. Not to mention, when you're doing 300K a month, you've been siphoning money off into, your real estate, your Bitcoin, your gold. I'm leaning to more towards just the kitchen sink policy, right? Putting a bit into everything, but it's all custom tailored and dependent on you, as I explained in the net worth course, as well as the actual practical steps and the money math to get there, and how important reinvesting is in your business, right? Because I'm not saying pull all this money out and put it into these shit investments, and I think all investments are shit except for a business, because they are in comparison. They're more for an interruption in business income, right? Or they're more for psychological security against an interruption in business income that might never happen, as well as for the potential for a hyperinflation scenario, right? Like if there's a hyperinflation scenario, stocks will usually keep pace with that. Real estate will keep pace with that, but 70% of your business revenue might not. So in those disaster scenarios, the shit investments can really save you. And the reason I say they're shit is because you're lucky to get 8% a year, whereas an early stage business you can get 10,000% over the course of a couple of years, and well beyond that. If you're taking in the trajectory of what you invested in year one, and then what you got over the course of 10 years, right? So I think this is the new game, and that's what's important to be cognizant of, and it's what to aim for. And it's changed my perspective on everything. I've got 3 or 4 vehicles I'm aiming to find a flywheel, at least one or two, and then I'm just dumping in. I'm thinking, where can I spend my money? Where can I dump this money aggressively? Because I'm no longer comfortable where I was at, and I'm doing pretty good. And I would suggest you start thinking the same, because once you really understand this stuff, you're probably going to see things the same way that I do. So you want to check out my Great Reset survival guide to revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/courses. Depending on when you're watching this, it might not be out yet, but it's going to be out by the end of 2023. So if it's not out yet, come back. It'll be out. I'll be advertising it. And I'm going to get you that 8-figure net worth game plan. I'm also going to tell you exactly what this roulette's going to look like and how to make sure that you can survive and thrive and maintain all your freedoms. But not only that, you want your life to be better, right? So how to still keep getting better in that scenario. And regardless of what happens, that's what I consider a true player in the game of life. That's been the philosophy at RLD since 2012. Still the philosophy, regardless of how the game changes. And you don't have to like it that the game is changing, the goalposts are shifting, but you have to deal with it. And resisting against it isn't going to do you a lot of good, as opposed to what are the rules, how do I play, how do I win, how do I maximize my health, wealth, freedom, relationships, um, quality of life, things of that nature. If you're an activist, I suggest another channel, because I don't think you can be an entrepreneur and an activist at the same time. You have to commit to one or the other, because activism hurts your entrepreneurship and your potential freedoms and things of that nature. So this is the channel for true players, and I think this is extremely important to take seriously. If you want to see how to set your decade and yearly goals, you can also check out my life game, how to play the game of life course, to set all your goals out for the next decade, and then pyramid them up and start backwards and come back to your goals for this year. It's called Life Game: How to Play the Game of Life. Revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/courses, and that's a lot of what I'm going to be, releasing over the next 2 years in terms of courses. Is the entire lifestyle design system, but also optimized for everything that's happening in the next decade, and making sure that you've got the absolute best game plans to get you through, because that's the legacy that I want to leave when I've passed on, is that I've helped as many of guys like you as possible. And not just like, oh, you read a course and it was interesting. Like, you read it and you fucking did it, and you massively changed your life. And by the grace of God, I've been able to do that for probably 60 people at this point, that I know of in my RLD Brotherhood, which is my clients and friends, 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs. Revolutionary Lifestyle Design Brotherhood. If you want to get in the survival and thrival tribe over the next decade, be around winners, make connections, get advice on your business and other initiatives, and be able to talk to me directly. I'm not doing any one-on-one coaching. I still have a few clients, but not offering that service right now. Maybe in the future I will again, but currently I'm not taking new clients. So that's the only way to access me. I'm sure I've helped a lot of other people outside of that, and I have seen emails come in and guys message me, and probably hundreds, if not thousands. But within that realm of people, I've really helped, and I want to help as many guys as I can. Because to me, it's not just about living well and making a bunch of money. There's a spiritual duty here in terms of tithing, as well as having your main mission. Help as many people as you can, and I want to make sure you guys get that help. So again, check out that 8-figure net worth course. I feel like it's the best thing that you could buy over the next decade, because if you don't have that game plan, to me, it means you don't understand what's coming. If you understand what's coming and you get your point of self to a place of faith that you can make it happen, and that you need to make it happen to ensure your thrival, then you need a game plan, for your finances, right? And that game plan that I've got for you, I think, is the absolute best. I've been searching for one for years. I've been looking at all those old libertarian bloggers, and their thrival game plans were trash. It was like, oh yeah, buy a bunch of gold and store it in Singapore, and then get on a plane and go pick it up if things go wrong. It's like, that's not enough. You need every scenario planned for, which I have in the Great Reset course and the Net Worth course. So definitely pick up the Net Worth course. Great Reset course is out by the time you're watching this. Pick it up. If not, wait for it. It's coming out end of 2023. With that said, appreciate you watching this video. Hope it found you well. God bless you, and I'll catch you in the next video.